I think we're going to get started,
Yes.
and this is new to me, so forgive me if I don't follow the rules. I think first we need to take roll. Is that correct? Why does she leave when I need her most?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Uh, Vasuda? Don't think she's online. Christina Hudson? She's not here either. Joelle?
Here.
Great. Adrian?
Here.
Nicole?
Here.
Paula, I'm here. And Nick?
Here.
Great. Okay, I think we start with public comment. Do we have any public comment? No, nobody's here for that. All right, and agenda approval. Did everybody get a chance to read through the agenda? And do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Great. Agenda is approved. Next, we have the approval of our minutes from both our January meeting and our February meeting. Do we have to do those separately, or can we do it as a combined?
We can do it as one.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the January and February meetings?
I'll motion to approve the January and February meeting minutes.
Thank you, Nicole.
I'll second that.
Okay, minutes are approved. Next, we move on to the liaison reports.
Good morning.
Good
I'll
morning.
give you a real brief update. These are all initiatives that have come through the EDC over the years. 11 years ago, we pushed forward SR 18, as you can see. The Divergent Diamond is moving forward and is supposed to be complete this summer, if not sooner. I was by there last night, and they had the entire intersection closed coming this way from 18. So they are working hard, and it's amazing to watch. The second one, and that is affordable housing that came through this committee, is in works with the RFQ being reviewed and some different options for 9033. Other than that, it's in process. The third thing is, out of this group was created the Snow Valley Innovation Center. And from that, originally it was the community job fairs. It turned into the snowvalleyjobs.com. And thanks to Kelly Coughlin Games at the chamber, they are getting a $25,000 grant to help automate the jobs board so that it can live in perpetuity, and also some other enhancements to help small businesses and startups, again, through this group. And then lastly, we made a trip over to Key Peninsula to visit the Mustard Seed housing development for seniors. Amazing community, and it was built with USDA rural development funds, and it's something we haven't explored for King County. This part of King County is all USDA eligible, so just keep that in mind. But my point is this: whatever you work on can make a big difference. It may take 10 years, it may take 20 years, but continue to push, because you bring the inspiration to the city and the council. So thank you very much. That's it for my report.
Chair.
Yes.
Nicole, we community liaison. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on something Councilmember Watton said regarding the job board. Kelly is going to be trying to, I can't think of the word, essentially try to put job postings to the Cleellum area to try to get some people from that area to consider Snoqualmie for jobs. Everything that's been going on with Highway 18 is incredibly challenging for employers to get their employees to and fro. And so looking at that area. It's one,
Hmm,
and did
thank
she
you.
know that? Or did
I-
you know
I
that?
did not know
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So,
Great.
Chair Paula, back to you.
Um, is that, Nicole, do you have another liaison report or?
liaison would be, for him, as a liaison for this committee. Would you like me to just give a report?
If you have one, if you don't,
Sure, I can just give a report on behalf of my work plan. Just continuing to work with the community, both activating events for residents, as well as how the small business community can, work towards that. So we have, 3 events this weekend. We have the teen flashlight hunt. We have the, bunny hop hunt Saturday morning, and then the downtown merchant hunt on Saturday morning. Then there's a community event, Bow Wow Dog Hunt as well. So the events do 2 things. They activate it for the kids. We have from the toddlers, tweens, and teens, but then also trying to work with the businesses. So this year we've got some sponsorship from some of the local businesses, and they're helping with prizes and raffles, not raffles, but prizes and just different activities. So it's an effort at every level throughout the community. I feel like I'm stammering. I need to get in work mode. Yes, yes. Thank you for that. You're very helpful. One of the other things of my job is the volunteer appreciation event, which you all should have received an email invitation, and that is next week, the 30th. And thank you. Thank you. It's Wednesday, the 16th. I will say as a little caveat, we honor the people that have served for a full year. So if you are a new commissioner, you will get your turn next year to attend that event, and we're having that at Meadowbrook Farm. So I think that's it.
that it? Any other liaison reports? None that I know of. Old business? Do we have any old business? Seems all old.
Yeah, roundtables is kind of old business and new business. We have it under new business.
It's under new business.
Mhm.
So we'll move on to new business.
Okay.
And that's the roundtable recap. And I'm not quite sure.
Would you like me to take that one?
Yes,
Chair?
please,
Okay.
take that.
Are you okay, Mona? Would you like me to take that one? Okay. So this commission last year did 2 roundtables. We'd hoped to do 3, but we had the windstorm, so we moved the other one to this year, February. That said, in the January packet, there was a recap that had been done by Emily Arteche, but being that we hadn't had the 3rd recap, we felt that this information needed to be updated. So, so this recap encompasses the things that we learned with the 3 different meetings, which was the business park, the businesses on the ridge, which was Center Boulevard, any of the larger or smaller businesses on the ridge, and then the downtown merchants. It was, I think, very insightful, and some common themes kind of came out from all of them. And so it was location-specific infrastructure enhancements, that's a big old word, which included the historical downtown color palette, signage, which could be wayfinding signage, which is currently going up through town, WashDOT signage, talking about vacant space recruitment, how that's done both downtown and on the ridge, which is also being addressed by Mona, and I was gonna say and her team, but Mona is her team, by by Mona. And that's the conversations we've been having about the ratios and how long that businesses can stay vacant, disabled parking, lighting issues, public bathrooms, public safety. Supporting vibrant local and tourism economy. That is the fact that Snoqualmie is a tourism community, and how do we leverage those tourists to complement what we need to do here as a community. So it kind of goes back to things that we've talked about here, where the downtown actually, I don't know if we've talked about it here as much as the Ridge Merchants Group, but saying that the downtown, the predominant business community, or the predominant customer is tourism, and then the residents kind of are the secondary. On the Ridge, it's mainly the residents, and then the tourists are the secondary. That can change a little bit based on the type of event and what's going on, but overall, Snoqualmie, we are a tourism economy. So how do we market Snoqualmie to as a destination for visitors, but at the same time foster a sense of community for the residents that live here? And do we have everything that they need that they can live, work, and play in Snoqualmie? And how do we promote shopping local? Driving traffic. The last year and a half has been challenging for several of the businesses and the economy, which also leads into the third element that we kind of heard from people was workforce needs, housing, transportation, minimum wage, the lack of affordable housing, that we're a transportation desert. Like, you really can't get from another east side city here to work. There's not a metro route. I mean, there is, but it could take you 3 or 4 hours just to do so. And then the construction challenges, which there's a typo here for Highway 18 and I-90. So those were the themes. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, and then we can talk about, since then, what are some of the things that we've been doing as a city to address some of those points. But just turn it over to you guys to
Well,
chat about.
I think we talked at one point about picking a topic each month and kind of diving deeper. And my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that our committee is to look at each of these kind of specific areas and possibly come up with suggestions or recommendations to the council on how to address some of these. Is that kind of where we go with this roundtable information?
I think that's the direction too, is, but we've heard from the community.
Right.
What are their issues, and how, yeah, exactly, how can you guys as a commission support how we can address that? So maybe it's a way, maybe I can say that just to address some of the things that we've done is, or that we're working on as staff, is the wayfinding signage. Those are they're green posts and then the turquoise signs. Those are in the process of being installed. Those should be completed hopefully by Memorial Day. WashDOT signage, that's been a conversation for several years in this community. And then after the downtown business roundtable, I will say City Administrator Mike Chambliss, he kind of adopted that.
Emailing right now.
You are?
We're in a
Okay.
Conversation right now.
Okay. Do you want to give a little update on what? So he took that one and rolled with it.
So we went out and took an inventory. We developed a plan, and we sent out in the blind to WashDOT, and there was no response for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then the other day, I got a WashDOT traffic alert about the construction. So I just replied to that person in the blind saying, hey, who do I talk to in your organization? And he's actually helping me lead the charge through this. So we're just talking right now.
What
about it.
exactly is
So,
that
It's-
signage
So
that you guys are, is that the one on the highway?
yeah, it's 2 signs involving exit 27.
Yeah.
One of them's to add historic downtown to one of them, and the other one's to add Snoqualmie Falls to the other one. They're existing signs.
Yeah.
We just want to add approved language to each.
My only concern with that, as we talked about it last time, just worrying that if we're gonna push everybody to 27, does that affect the Ridge businesses then? And I don't know. I mean, that's a conversation I think to be had, unless it sounds like the signage you're talking about will direct people to downtown and the falls.
We're not removing the existing signing
Okay.
that
Duplicating.
would send people down the parkway. We're just adding additional language if they miss the parkway to take the
Okay.
next exit.
Okay.
I know when you drive up and over the ridge, there's like a nice welcome to Snoqualmie sign. Do we have that at other kind of major like at exit 27 over here? Do we have one after you leave the falls and come across the bridge? Do we have like a welcome to Snoqualmie or any signage there?
There's a metal sign when you come up from Fall City. That's a WashDOT sign.
Yeah. You
But
know,
as far
they
as,
have the nice
mon-
city
it-
ones
we
that
would
are
call
like-
that monument sign.
And I
Right.
will say that the city's name is spelled right
Yeah.
now. But
It's spelled wrong. Did you
For
say-
years, it was spelled
Oh,
wrong.
no.
That's awesome.
Snoqualmie, I think it was.
and then at this end of town, no, there isn't any.
Would that be something maybe
could
just
be
to
something.
consider? I don't know how expensive those are or what you gotta figure out for that, but I think those signs are always nice when you enter a town and
Mhm,
you do have like local signage that are landscaped.
mhm.
Yeah, that's, it's interesting because I would say 2018, 19, that was quite a conversation by the Historical Downtown Merchant Association at the time. They, for down here, they were, wanting to do something like that. It's definitely been a conversation. It just hasn't been something that's kind of risen to the top of how do we do this and how do we fund it. There is one that was installed in the 70s as you come into town.
The wood ones, yeah?
Correct, yeah. And that was given a little bit of a painting and a cleanup facelift, I think two summers ago. But we have talked about the fact that especially when the casino expansion is completed, there should be more traffic in that area. And what is a way that we could do something? I keep pointing that way, like, can't y'all read my hands? That the Meadowbrook intersection could be a good gateway into the community, and how do we sign that, as well as maybe at the bottom of the Parkway and 202. So definitely conversations. It's how does something like that get completed?
Specifically, to answer your question, those signs usually cost in the neighborhood of a couple $100,000. And the tricky part is usually having the land to put them on.
Wow.
Because, 202 is the state's, it's not ours.
Right,
So
right.
we don't own the right of way. And up there, I'm not sure we own any property off the sides of the roads anywhere wide enough to put that. So that's always the tricky part.
With your conversation about the WashDOT signs for exit 27, is there any conversation for once you get off at exit 27, then how are we directing people?
We do have our directional signs. Once you get off of 27, that's when they start, and they do run down the county because that's County's road. But they did allow us at some point to put those signs up.
The wayfinding
The
signs?
wayfinding
Mhm,
signs. So they
mhm.
do exist. I think there's about 3 of them.
On North Bend Way?
Correct.
Mhm.
And then how about once you turn onto Meadowbrook? Because
there's signs
sometimes
there.
that
There
feels
is.
Yeah,
like.
there is.
There is.
Yeah.
At that funky little intersection, there's one there, and then I believe there's at the one as you're coming into town.
Okay.
Right before the Herfies, I think there is one there.
Great.
So
Can I just ask-
those wayfinding have kind of been, not Band-Aids, but they're a bit of an answer to how do you get people? Yes.
Most people are, yeah, maybe using Google. My question is just, I don't want to sit up here and pontificate. This is my first meeting. What's kind of the process? Like, we throw something out there and then what's someone say, that's a decent idea. Let's somebody do something with that. How does that work? Because I don't know, I feel like I'm just talking to you guys and
Right.
I don't expect you to do anything. I just wonder how that whole process.
Well, even the things that we've got here down at the bottom, those were conversations that have happened in the
Yeah.
last several years. And so what you see here is staff taking these conversations, these questions that you guys bring to us on behalf of the community, and what are we able to accomplish as staff? And so that's what we have here. So this is the place to have those conversations, and then we will take our marching orders and do what we can.
We also had that spreadsheet with the priorities.
Yeah, that's our conversation number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just say too, the downtown business directory, that was a conversation that came from the downtown merchant roundtable. That information is currently at the printer and will be getting installed. Oh, Joelle?
Hi. I just wanted to ask if there is also continued any kind of movement or conversation regarding the possibility of trying to get traffic from the overflow parking at the lodge pushed through and to go around Tokel and drive traffic into both the downtown and the Ridge instead of going to Fall City.
So we did have the engineers take a look at an option, and it got a lot more expensive. So it's about $1.5 million, $2 million option to put a rear exit in.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a big retaining wall needed. I can actually share the proposed signs. I don't know who's sharing. Who's sharing?
Dina,
Can you stop sharing? There you go.
Who's that?
that's Adrian.
Oh, it's
He's
Adrian.
on our council.
We have him.
There you go.
Recorded as being present.
Yep.
So there's an existing sign that says exit 27 Snoqualmie North Bend. We're recommending to replace that with one that says Snoqualmie Historic District in North Bend. And then there's an existing sign that says Snoqualmie Indian Reservation, which we're recommending they add Snoqualmie Falls to, which is exact same language used on other signs going other directions and other places. So that should take any issue with WashDOT with the language out of the conversation.
And how does WashDOT do that? They're like, say, okay, yeah, we'll do that next month, or yeah, we'll replace the sign in 5 years when it's due to be replaced. How does that work?
I'm trying to find that out. I am offering to pay for it. So hopefully that will not be a 5-year deal. So anyway, that's the story of the signs.
Just lastly, the historic downtown color palette that's a huge lift that we've recently have picked that up and are working on that. That's going through the planning commission right now. That doesn't impact the Ridge, but it's quite impactful for the downtown business community, and we expect that to be completed by June. And then the other thing was downtown parking map, which is on the Visit Snoqualmie website, identifying over 350 free parking spaces, and that's on the website. Obviously, that's a little bit more geared towards our tourists and not to our residents. But so these are the things that came out of the recap, the conversations that we had, and some of the things that we've been doing as staff to make these improvements. So I guess, Chair, I just turn it back to you guys. What would you, I guess, prioritize, or what would you guys like to see happen?
In the particular location specific.
Or just, so you've got the three themes. You were saying that maybe every month you wanted to dive deep into some of these, or also we could consider pivoting and looking at the work plan update, which is, if you, on the next page, that also comes out of this commission, and this information has been updated as part of the outcome from the roundtable. It's the blue chart.
What do you commissioners want to do?
I think it'd be great to look at the work plan and see if
Okay.
any of the things that were shared on the screen align with what's already on the work plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this work plan also was something that was shown to you guys pretty regularly in the last year. And with the transition that we're going through within the department and this commission, it was time to look at this and make some changes and improvements. Oh, Mike has his hand up. And also based on the roundtable results.
So I'm sorry, I don't think we answered your question about how this all works. And I want to do that. So if the commission comes up with something that's already budgeted within our sphere of work and is relatively easy to do, we're going to go do it. Case in point, downtown business directory. That came up through the commission. We have budget for it. We don't have to go through a budget process to get money to do it. And it's normal work that we do. So we just took care of that.
Just it bubbles up the priority.
Correct.
Okay.
Or it identifies it as a priority. If it is something that we don't have budget for, say you want to do a monument sign up on Meadowbrook Way, that's a much bigger lift. So one I would discuss that with the mayor. Councilperson Watton, who's your liaison with council, would report back to council, hey, this is something they're discussing. It may get kicked down to the Community Development Committee to work on, which at that point would be assigned staff, et cetera. We develop preliminary budget, all that stuff. Then it goes back up to the council. The council would have to allocate budget to it. And then once there's a budget to it, then staff would be allowed to actually go work on it and make something happen. So it kind of depends on the item and how complicated it is and where it is on what happens. So I hope that was
No, that
not
makes
as
sense. That's great.
confusing as it sounded to me when I was saying it.
And thank you for asking the question because I've always kind of had similar questions. Does the commission need to formally request things, or is it just stem from the conversation that we have and you take it and run?
You can do either.
Okay.
If I could just piggyback a little bit on that. So we heard loudly at the last roundtable meeting that the color palettes were a big deal, and that was really a problem for a lot of the downtown businesses because it was expensive to go through the, design review board and the variance process to change their colors. And we had a lot of, what was it, beige-er, tan, blah colors to use. And so we did do a presentation at the Planning Commission at the last meeting. It was very well received. We're bringing that back next Monday. And we had one business owner attend that meeting and give comments, and it was really helpful, I think, for the commissioners. So I would encourage members of the EDC to reach out to other local businesses and have them attend those meetings and give comments so that we can get that color palette through and pass through resolutions so that our businesses can start using that right away.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, and then, so we wanted to take a look at the work plan, right? Start there.
And it looks like quite a bit of the things that came up are on the 2025 work plan, so closely aligned.
Right. So should we just go through these? And several of them say completed, those are to be completed
Correct.
because
Yeah.
the dates are in the future.
Yeah.
Some of them are completed. So we did the downtown roundtable, visitation, business visitation ongoing. Is that truly still ongoing?
So that is something that Mayor Ross would like to see see you guys continue to do. So this commission, back when Councilmember Watton was on it, and some of you are new, so you might not even be aware of it, but there was a process where the commissioners would divvy up or take different businesses and go out and meet with them. And there's some questions that we worked on, I think in 2023. I don't feel like they would be void. I think they're still good questions. But going out and just talking with the business community, oftentimes business owners, we have found, is that they would rather be more open to talk with you guys than if it was elected officials or even staff. So don't know why. I mean, we're just so welcoming. No, but I think that, so the roundtables was the first step, but then I think wanting to get back into more of the targeted specific thing would be something that the mayor would like to see this group do. Looking at the calendar and just what you're aware of, it could be something in summer, late fall, and just identify what those groups are. And we could talk about how that is activated and what that looks like, but that's what the business visitation is. Do you want to add a little context? I feel like you're the one here that has some experience actually doing it back in the day.
Right. So when we started doing this, obviously there's seven commissioners. And so each one of us took 2 or 3 businesses. We really encompassed about 14 to 17 businesses. What was really important is the anecdotal information that we brought back. What was difficult on staff was we had like 17 questions for them, And it's really hard to record that. I'd really like to see, 5, 6, 7 core questions and then have a conversation around, make it a lot easier to record, and then we can take Mona can take the anecdotal information, summarize it, give it back to the commission, give it to the council as well. The roundtable was kind of a next step in the process because bringing people together, you kind of feed ideas off of one another. And we saw that in the historic district, and to be able to turn that around in, under 90 days, that's amazing. And so I think it just comes back to the power of this commission and the influence you can make. And the other thing, we have never had such a broadly represented commission where we have a very good brushstroke of the community. So lean in on that because that will help influence what the city does and what the city council does as well. So there you go.
So if you want to narrow the 17 questions down to 5 questions, does the council do that? Can you narrow that down and get that to us as a commission and then we can decide what we're going to do with it?
I think the best minds are at the table already. Not to put it back, but really it's, are you here? Why are you here? What are the things you like about the cities? What about the city? What can we do to help facilitate your growth and staying here? And what are things that we haven't thought about? I mean, if you put that kind of in that context and just use it as a springboard for conversation.
So basically the questions we talked about at the roundtable.
Yeah, but just keep them to maybe 4 or 5 questions and let the rest of the conversation, it'll make it easier to record and you'll have a lot richer information that you bring back. Any thoughts?
No, I think that's good. That's helpful.
We did a bit of it in fall of 2023. I interviewed Down to Earth, or not Down to Earth, the rock shop, the gem shop on Center Boulevard on the Ridge. She was very open to meeting and very kind and excited that we were interested in asking her questions. So it was a positive experience. She didn't have any feedback for the city that I recall, but she had some struggles with her, the building owner and whatnot. She has 2 other businesses, but yeah, overall it was very positive. I'd be up for doing some more of it.
So did you have something you were going to?
There's 2 different industries I'm particularly interested in. One might be more pressing to meet with and talk with. I have a few friends, not in Snoqualmie, but just in general, that have businesses and that are suffering and trying to figure out what's going on and trying not to lay off their staff due to the tariff situation. We have a lot of manufacturing and high-tech companies up on the ridge that I'm sure source a lot of their stuff from overseas. And I wonder how they're faring. I mean, those are important jobs I think that we want in our community. They're kind of hidden because they don't have big signs and they're not on the main drag, right? I know we had that downtown meeting, but I'm really curious how those folks are doing up on the ridge that have those high-paying, skilled jobs. So I wonder if that's an area, and I'm not saying I'm the one with the expertise to interview those folks, but I'm wondering if those folks are invited to a roundtable at some point, or if we can really engage with those people, because I think those are people we want in our town and fill in those places on the ridge, those high-tech manufacturing jobs
They were invited because we did a business park
on the ridge. Did they attend?
roundtable. No, well, there were 2, one.
Really one. It
The
was Space
storage.
Labs and then
Yeah.
storage, but
Yeah. Yeah, Space Labs was here.
they were, yes,
And then
they
the
were really-
storage place was here.
It'd be sad to see those folks start going under and dropping out of up there.
Well, I know at the Ridge Merchants meeting, Dory, you were there. There was a lot of talk about businesses that are leaving because primarily they can't get the workforce. They can't get them here. The 18 construction is a problem. Housing is a problem here locally, affordable housing. So that was a conversation, but it would be great to talk to some of the other businesses that are there who did not attend.
Okay.
We also talked with Kelly at the chamber about if she had any data around what the vacancy rate was up on the ridge and how many businesses have moved out and she said that's something that we probably should be looking at. So,
Yeah, it'd be sad if that just became a ghost town all of a sudden before anyone
Yeah.
noticed.
right.
The other one I just had in mind, which is kind of a little bit more near and dear to me, is trades in town. We have 4 guys that graduated in the last 3 years from high school, Mount Si High School right here, that are entering the trades. And I would be curious, just kind of checking in on tradeswomen in the town, that sort of thing, and maybe a little something more focused with them. And how are they doing? Permits, and do they know how to set up a business? There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and like you might be a good electrician or plumber, but you might not be good at, as I learned, my brother's terrible at answering an email or filing paperwork and what's a B&O tax and what's a sales tax, and you have to do it in this city, but it's on this website in this city. It's very confusing. So just, I don't know, helping those folks see how they're doing with their businesses and if they have questions or how can it be easier for them to set up their little companies, mom and pop shops.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. I'm happy to have you take that.
I run with that one if that's okay.
So Nick, to your point, we need to get more involved with the CTE, that's Career and Technical Education Program. I believe Paula and
Is that like
Nicole,
Twin Rivers?
that's through the high school or through the school district, and it works with both high schools here. And they need your help as well. So I'll make sure to
Okay.
get you all connected.
I spent 7 years on the one in Elma, Washington, and would love to get plugged in with that.
Okay, let's
Help
do
out
it.
with that, yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm sure you can get people at the hospital
Oh,
into
yeah.
entry-level jobs coming out of high school.
Oh,
The
definitely.
kids we have coming out of high school are phenomenal.
Yeah, and we just revised our volunteer and job shadowing program, so we're now able to accept minors as long as they're 16 years or older. They can come in and job shadow and volunteer with us to get a better sense of what's going on in the medical industry for potential jobs later on. So we're very excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So maybe Nick, when you talk to not only tradespeople, but to the school and the CTE program and just see what their needs are from the city.
Okay.
Um,
If I wanted like a formal roundtable with like trades folks in town, is that something I could like work with one of you on or someone on to set up?
Yeah, we could make that part of a regular scheduled meeting, or if you
Just
either,
offline?
or either if you had contacts or Councilmember Watton with somebody from the school district, if they wanted to do some sort of a presentation to the commission, that would be a great way to jumpstart that conversation and what does that look like?
Okay.
Was the job, excuse me, the job fair that was at Mount Si High School recently, was that part of the CTE? And I found out about the job fair after.
I think it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what does the CTE stand for?
Career and technical education.
I'm sure they all attend and stuff. That's who invited us, is like the shop people.
There's another event coming up at the high school that we're signed up to go to.
Hmm.
I don't
Do
know
you guys
what
do the
that
career
is.
day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very important though to engage our local people and plug them into jobs here once they graduate and keep them here.
Yeah, there's plenty of good jobs here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nicole,
Over there.
Joelle?
Oh, yes. So I'm also working with a couple people at the high schools to work on training some students in like candy making, getting in with like the new candy store and teaching them about small business. So I think I love that opportunity as well to be involved.
So maybe as commission members, we can, in the next month before our next meeting, each determine a group or some businesses that we want to talk to and kind of compile a list at our next meeting of who's visiting who and go from there.
Okay.
Does that sound good? So if everybody, all our commissioners, if we can all come up with a couple of businesses or groups to speak with, bring that to the next meeting.
Just an action item, so you guys will identify, I guess, maybe 3 businesses that you feel comfortable reaching out or you have an interest reaching out to. Mona and I can come to the meeting next month with the questions that we determined in 2023 and just take a look at it, refine it, and see if those still good for you. And then you could take those questions and then meet with those.
That sounds good.
Does that
Yeah.
sound like a good plan?
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, in the meantime, Mona and I could reach out to the CTE representative from the district. Maybe they could come and do a brief presentation. There's also, her last name is Riley, I think it's Christine. She presented at the downtown merchants and also the Ridge merchants about the shadowing opportunities and the, I think, isn't it the students at Twin Rivers?
Twin Rivers,
But
yes.
she's, but those are often the students that aren't really geared for the 4-year university. They're more about the trades and doing that. So I could bring her in if you want, and we could hear what she has to say. I don't want to put things on your agenda that you don't want, but that could be 2 people that could start to spark the conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just added to mine to do. It's all good. No. Okay, so I'll do that for you.
Okay, so then the next is the wayfinding signage, which I know is currently being finished. I think we're close to the end,
close to
or
being-
is it?
Close. Couple of the guys that work on that were a couple of weeks, they were out of the office at training, and so it kind of paused it, but definitely by Memorial Day. Is
What
goal.
exactly is the wayfinding signage?
It's the green post with the turquoise signs.
Yeah.
And so what that was is last year, they haven't been updated pre-COVID. We did an analysis of all of them, redid all of them. I think it's like 82 or 85 signs.
Oh, okay.
So some were faded, some were wrong, some were cracked. So we just went through and just redid all of them. And with there's 2 on Center, so they're gonna move 1. There's like 2 on, as you approach Center, they're gonna take 1 and move that down by Douglas. So we just did a complete analysis and overhaul and production, and then they're putting those up and getting those complete. So they're not like directional in the sense 2 miles from here, because I think people are on their phone using Google, but it's
Hey, did you know?
Yeah.
down
did
this
you
road
know?
there's a park,
Exactly.
but-
You know, and we're
Yeah.
not calling out, as I've said this before, we're not calling out individual businesses, like, here's Starbucks, here's this. We have our anchors, which is Snow King on the Ridge, and then the 2 museums downtown. And then some of the parks, a lot of our parks, Community and Genie host a lot of tournaments for people from out of town. So just trying to help those people navigate through
Sure.
town.
The one on Center that's going to move closer to Douglas, is that the one going up?
Going up, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I think in fact, I was driving by one day and they were putting them in and I pulled over and I'm like, and they were a little confused. So they have everything on those 2 and then they're just gonna pick them up and then.
Yeah, no, that's great. That would be super helpful.
You have
'Cause,
an eagle-eyed driver, Paula. You're doing good.
well, been watching for those signs for a long time.
Long
So,
time,
yeah, that's good.
2019.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. We took pictures, we sent them all over staff, so they're all very happy. Okay, so that'll be done all by Memorial Day. That's awesome. The WashDOT signage, Mike, you already talked about that. That's ongoing. Creative District. I know that came up, I think, at one of the chamber meetings, that maybe there's a
Yeah.
change in that.
So that conversation is still ongoing. That's on my work plan, but I'm also, like so many people in this room and different in the community, have been involved in the Rural Tourism Steering Committee meeting, which has been a lot of meetings and a lot of time and a lot of the same people. So I needed that to kind of finish up a little bit, and then we'll start to turn our attention to the Creative District. But I need to look at that too more and see I need to gather some people together. Like, is this the direction that we want to go as a community? There are some communities that have done this and haven't found it to be a good payoff, essentially. So I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. There's a few of us all kind of doing the work, and I don't want to see us doing unneeded work. So more to come on that.
Is it a big financial investment by the city?
It's not huge, but there still is an investment. For instance, everyone's like, oh, we get the sign on WashDOT. Well, we have to pay for that sign.
Yeah.
And then we see how great it is to work with WashDOT to get the signs.
Where would the creative district be?
So the creative district, that's the other thing. I need to get some people together, you know, to kind of pick their brains. What would you want it? It's ideally it would be all of Snoqualmie so that there's equity on what's on the ridge and what's downtown. A lot of our art is centralized downtown. However, winemaking, brewery is considered an artisan work, and we have those up on the ridge. But in order to say that we have a creative district through all the community, how do we connect downtown with the ridge? And is it walkable? Is it doable? So there's some logistics and some things that we would have to prove that that it would work for us. Because I think we're greater as a whole community than we are just downtown or just on the ridge, but I don't know if we would meet some of that criteria.
Okay, so that's ongoing.
Yes.
If I may add, I believe Creative Districts is kind of on hold for expanding right now until
Because
the
of funding?
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah. So it depends on what comes out of the legislature, I believe, right now, but they're not adding new creative districts. So you may want to say, yeah, we'll think about it. That may be a 2026 thing, just to help with the priorities.
Yeah, well, and take something off your plate if it's not
That
gonna
was a
go
little bit of
anywhere
music to
anyway.
my ears right there. Thank you.
Okay,
Also, I will say, I don't have what was on here, what was taken off, but we had conversations in the last year and a half, 2 years about Main Street, which is not really an effort by the city per se. What we were looking at was an effort by the downtown merchants. And with conversations that we've had with both of them, it's a direction that both of the entities would be pursuing right now. So that got taken off of our priorities. And I believe that at the federal level, that funding was taken away. So it's kind of a moot conversation. So that isn't a direction that we will be moving towards as a city
okay,
at this time.
okay. The downtown business directory,
Yeah, I want to say there is going to be a little information on there for the ridge. It's geared predominantly for the downtown, but there's also going to be a map that talks about the other things in the community on the ridge. So it's not going to be wholly downtown centric. It's going to be citywide.
and is that what you had said earlier is at the printers?
It's at the printer. So it's the kiosk that's on the boardwalk about
Okay.
mid-block.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that should be done by Memorial Day as well?
Yes, I hope so. I see no reason why it wouldn't be.
Okay, and historic downtown color palette, we talked about that. You're doing another thing at the meeting on Monday?
Yeah, we took the color palette to the planning commission last week and heard a lot of great feedback and comments. And so we're kind of further refining that, and we're going to bring what we heard back to them on Monday. So encourage our businesses to come.
Okay, business retail development standards. I'm not quite sure.
So this
This
has
is-
to do with, so we took this through the planning commission, and this was to make 90% of the downtown businesses have a retail component, which was an increase from 75%.
Correct.
And then on Center Boulevard as well, up in Snoqualmie, of course, Snoqualmie Ridge, we were also increasing it up there as well. We're hearing that we're getting a lot of more medical facilities are coming in without the retail component, but the businesses on the ridge are losing the customer base, particularly with some of the high-tech companies maybe moving out or reducing
Right.
their staffing because of the intersection improvements at Highway 18. So we're looking at that right now. We're analyzing that at the Community Development Committee meeting next week. That's been an ongoing discussion. It kind of went by the wayside for a couple months until we regrouped with staffing, and now we're bringing it back. So it has gone through the Planning Commission. They've recommended approval, and now it needs to go to the council.
And is the 90%, is it also 90% for the ridge?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
How do you enforce that?
Well, it would be, we'd be looking at that when tenant improvements came in.
Like permanent?
Mhm.
Okay.
Just a
So-
point of clarification, that would be for occupancy. Certificate of occupancy is based on the retail usage or,
Yes, so we'd normally see that when the tenant improvement came in, and then if we approved that and it went through the building permit, then we would verify it before we went that far.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Joelle's online, apparently has a question.
She had her hand up, yes.
Joelle?
Yes, this is going back a minute because I had my hand raised regarding the boardwalk kiosk. Nicole, can you say exactly what's going to be on that kiosk? Or what information will be on that?
Yeah, sure. So it's two sides. One side will be an illustrated map of Snoqualmie as a whole. So it'll list like the golf courses, Snow King, the train. So it's more directional, big picture. Then the other side will be downtown focused, and each of the businesses will have they'll be on the key, like the name of the business and the location of where it is on the map, on the map.
Okay, will that be like easily changeable since we do have, businesses kind of coming in and out right now and new businesses coming in?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's going to be an ongoing, fairly minimal expense. So it's not something I'm gonna change out every single week, but I'll look at it probably every quarter, and then I can have the designer change out the names and then just print it again and put it up.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, on that business retail development standards, that says to be completed in May. Is that realistic? Is that what we're still looking at?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yes, should be able to get to council in May.
Okay.
We'll get it to council and they'll get it through.
Sure.
Andrew, is there a way to make the screen show the attendees online so we can see them raising their hand? Well, oh, okay. Well, I think Paula doesn't have a computer, so
Oh,
it's,
I didn't open mine up.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's why I thought if we could see it up there, we'd see the hands go up. Oh, okay, okay.
Sorry, we'll try to pay more attention. Okay, downtown parking map. Is that also going to be in the kiosk or?
No, it's on the website, on the Visit Snoqualmie
Oh.
website. So it's more of when people are probably
Oh,
looking
yeah.
online to find us.
That makes sense. And that's already there?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. And then development projects ongoing.
I can give an update. I talked to an architect with the Model Train Museum yesterday, and they're working on pre-app materials. So we're anticipating that we'll have a pre-application packet come in mid-May and probably have a pre-app meeting in early June. So that's a good sign. Means the project's moving forward.
Do we have any idea? I think he was working on funding. Is he?
I haven't heard any updates on the funding, but I know he's working on it.
Okay.
He had his first funding pledge. He's been out of the country for a couple weeks, but he had his first funding pledge, which was a good opportunity for him to see how is his portfolio doing, what does he need to do, and then when he gets back into the country, which should be probably this week if he's not back already, he's gonna continuing that fundraising campaign.
And then with the mill site, I think there, is that,
The mill site
rejuvenated
has, they're
discussion?
focusing on like cleanup with ecology this year. And then I anticipate that they'll probably start coming in for permitting sometime next year.
okay. So that is moving also. Railway Roundhouse, that's just ongoing.
Ongoing, we're in the middle of permit processing for that, so that's moving ahead. Snoqualmie Valley Health is gung ho, moving
We are
forward.
gung ho.
yes.
Yeah. A long time ago, Renee attended a work group for the EDC and jobs, a retail pharmacy, community spaces, restaurants, and things were all identified as priorities. And we've worked them all into our project. As many of our people here know, we've run into some challenges with development fees and things like that. So we're looking at shuttering possibly 2 of our ORs that we're planning to build in, and 2/3 of our clinic space, and then our entire radiology department that's planned for being in the space. So we're hoping to partner and get through those hurdles and keep going forward.
Okay.
Cool. And I don't know if that fits in this section, but the troll, where are we at with the troll?
Yeah.
A
the
wooden troll?
We're
We're at the troll. The troll is not coming to Snoqualmie. The artist is booked out through this year and next year, so they kind of said, no, thanks. If somehow, I think if we were to find $400,000 and say, here you go, I think they'd fit us in, but I don't know where that $400,000
Yeah.
in this climate right now would
Okay,
come
so
from.
that
So
one's
the
off the
troll
table.
no longer coming to Snoqualmie.
We'll have to go to Issaquah to visit the troll.
Absolutely. And the other ones in this, yeah.
But there's a Sasquatch up on
Okay, just there.
Ridge.
Mhm.
I was thinking about that. Find someone, make a Sasquatch.
There's one
Not-
up at the splash
not-
pad if
We
you haven't
have
been there
Not
yet.
on
Splash
my
pad.
watch.
There is. Okay, so those are the ongoing projects. And then this work plan, the 2026 work plan. What is Doors Open King County?
So Doors Open is some funding that opened up this past year, and cities aren't eligible to apply, but 501c3s, 501c6s are eligible to apply for that. For instance, Northwest Railway Museum was, they applied for some capital funding. They had the first open window that they did for grant funding was for facilities, and Richard's organization got quite a bit of funding. So that one is on here because that's an opportunity for some of the nonprofits that we have in our community. The Train Museum, the Chamber, the Downtown Merchants, they can apply for the different opportunities that are available. And I don't know if they've opened anything else up recently. I think they were starting with the capital funding. So and that's based on a tiny smidge of sales tax.
Okay.
The World Cup, so where we're at with the World Cup is we've been meeting regularly, the different valley from the pass, Carnation, Duval, North Bend, Snoqualmie, Fall City. We've been meeting and we we did come to the realization that there's just a lack of funding with all of us to really be able to advertise to people that would be coming here. At this point in the game, we should be in a perfect world if we had buckets of money advertising to international visitors, hey, come to Snoqualmie. And that's just not feasible for us. We don't have that funding to be able to do that. So we're pivoting, and what we will plan to do is to market ourselves, provide some events in the area that are for like a staycation or people that live in the greater Puget Sound area that want to get out of the fray and want, they can't do anything in Seattle and during June and July of those months because it's so crazy. So come here and visit us. I think that we're going to get some visitors, the trickle effect of the visitors, but we're gonna take collectively all of our monies together in our plan, and that's how we're gonna market ourselves for the World Cup in 2026.
Does the city have a marketing budget?
We do. It's part of the budget that I oversee for events, and then we do have a small tourism marketing budget that I oversee as well. It's not huge, but I do take opportunities to leverage that or to partner with the chamber. There've been times where Snoqualmie, North Bend, and the chamber have taken opportunities with Port of Seattle grants to work together so that we can, we're greater when we're together than when we are individually at times.
There are like small, just thinking about tourism, regional events that attract thousands of people
Correct.
here.
Mhm.
And I know the World Cup would be pretty sweet, but like there's big races, like running races that like people come from the one through the tunnel is super popular. People from all over. The Sturdy Dirty is incredibly popular here.
Yeah.
That's an all-female mountain bike race. Thousands of people
Yeah.
do that stuff. Do we ever like market or say come down to town after?
We
or anything
do,
like that?
and you've tapped into something that has grown in the last few years and is growing. So Snoqualmie Point Park, which is very much one of the top, I would say, top 2 or 3 biking parks in the state. A lot of people come, and you're
Oh,
right, Sturdy Dirty
tons.
is huge.
Yes.
It is a challenge to try to get them to go from here, because it's probably one of the furthest points away from downtown, but we've tried to put some signage up there, or the chambers the downtown merchants have put some of their QR codes to try to get people to come down here, because there is an opportunity to try to pull those visitors from down here. And the biking community is growing. So we are trying to do some things with them. It also comes down to a little bit of funding too, and resources. Like, it's disappointing to me when they have their headquarter hotel is in Issaquah. Like, why can't we have the headquarter hotel there
For the Sturdy Dirty?
for some of the bike events? Yeah.
And like that
Mhm.
would be, I imagine, I forget what it's called, but the Hotel on the Ridge. or something.
Snoqualmie Inn. And they've bid for
I
that.
mean, like they put it on their website.
They
there?
have bid for some of those things, but sometimes, different hotels will bid for it, and then a different
Is that a
hotel
bidding
will get
process?
the bid for it.
Well, and I know from Snow King's perspective, a lot of our tournaments, the Issaquah hotels have been the primary because we get
Better rate,
discounts,
competitive.
better rates. And it's starting to change. The Snoqualmie Inn is now working with us, but in the past they had not. And so we all went there.
Yeah.
So,
Camping and Lodge in 2025. Oh yeah. I mean, I just use that one as an example.
well, I do also think once those WashDOT signs are there at exit 27,
Mhm.
and once we get those signs updated, that will help when there are events up there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer that we can't get those. So I wonder if they share the bid information, or there could be somehow for our local hotel to match it for the next year or try to beat it.
So I'm
be
looking right here, the
competitive.
Tunnels Race, Issaquah hotels.
Yep.
But I look at that, I'm like, if I'm running, like, why wouldn't I stay in the town?
For sure.
There's not really
As close
a
as possible.
decent hotel in North Bend. Yeah. Why aren't we on that? Hilton Garden in Issaquah, lame. Redmond, you're gonna drive to the pass from Redmond? That's insane. Like, it should be right here, right on 90. So how do we get like those, smaller events? I know, again, World Cup is sweet, but I think that's like a blip in time.
Yeah.
I think these consistent events that are out here every year, it would be good to formulate relations maybe with those people that lead and I'm just talking about a few races because
Yeah.
I'm tapped in a
Yeah.
little bit into that community.
Yeah.
I wonder-
I mean, I'll have a conversation with Snoqualmie Inn and just, ask him, is there things that you could do to sharpen your pencil
Yeah.
to make us more desirable? The trickle down effect of that would be good
Right.
for them and
Yeah.
for the community as a whole. So
Yeah.
I will have that conversation with the sales manager and the general manager and just see, because it would be great to get some of those.
Right.
It's I'm a competitive person and it is
Me too.
disappointing to me
Yeah,
when
Redmond.
I mean, it's my
Who's making
hometown,
that
but this
drive?
is where I
Well,
work, right? Yeah.
right.
But honestly, why would you want, I mean, it's just saying something when someone's driving 20 miles to stay at a hotel when
Mhm.
they can
Right.
stay here.
Those races are early. People want to be close
Yeah.
by, that sort of
Okay.
thing. Nicole,
Yeah.
do you foresee like the casino hotel gobbling that stuff up? Which I know it can be good for us. I know it's not necessarily like city
Yeah,
territory.
financially, let's be clear, it's not gonna be good for this. We won't get any of the tax revenue or any of that.
Yeah.
It will stay up there. So, but yes, I do believe that, that could be where we see Snoqualmie Inn starting to be more competitive with their pricing. But I think that the casino is going to, they're gonna tap into some of those visitors as well. But
And
I'm
the
also-
benefit would be that it brings people here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Are there booth spaces at those types of events, you know,
I was
where?
wondering that too, where we could go up and
Yeah.
different businesses could maybe share a booth and promote their services and
have
say,
a
come visit us.
Little
Oh,
medical thing at the
yeah,
Sturdy Dirt,
yeah, like-
correct?
Yeah, I wrote that down, the Sturdy Dirty. I've never heard of that. I'm not, only been
Mhm.
here about 2 years, but we
It's a
are.
sweet event. It's like all
Yeah,
female.
that's really
non-bikers.
cool.
Yeah.
We're-
I've lived here for 20 years. I've never heard of that
Oh, it's really
event.
cool.
They've
Yeah.
been,
Huh.
they've been coming for about 4 or 5
really
years. We
cool.
have about 3, there's that one, and then there's, 2 others that
There's
are
the
quite large.
Evergreen Mountain Biking
Evergreen.
Alliance.
What's
So
that
we're
Evergreen?
actually, we're going to be there and we're gonna have PTs lead the people through
great.
stretches beforehand and then be there to provide first aid. So we're
great.
trying to get plugged in with more of
Broken
those.
collarbones.
So I'd love to know more of the places we should be. 'Cause we're willing to go out and be there. And I think other businesses could do the same.
Well, and another thing is last year, I reached out to PSC and they did put a sandwich board sign with the QR code for the downtown merchants there. And I do believe that the traction on the website was noticed of people, of people clicking on that, because sometimes people are just kind of in that tunnel vision and they just go to one place and then they don't
Yeah.
always.
Make me a
Love to
sandwich board
see.
and we'll take it with us to our biking event.
Okay, yeah, or the chamber app one too.
Yeah.
As well, yeah. But I will have a conversation, you guys, with the Snoqualmie Inn and just ask them.
Yeah, because if they're able to just, like you said, sharpen their pencil and lower the rates a little bit, but get all of that business and then have people return to come stay with them, that would be really, really
I
beneficial.
can't imagine, Nicole, their rates aren't comparable. I don't know how all that works, but I imagine their rates are probably comparable to a hotel in Bellevue or Issaquah. I don't know.
when it comes to groups, like, if you're, say, Snoking's putting on a tournament and we've got tournament packages that we send to every team
Uh-huh.
who's coming, hotels will give a
Big discount.
tournament price
Mhm.
for, and that's when the rates are not competitive.
Okay. Just like on scale, big hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. that makes
And when
sense.
you're,
Hundreds of rooms.
when you're somebody who maybe, in our case, parents travel to tournaments constantly and it becomes really expensive, you want the lowest price.
Yeah. You'll
Sometimes.
take a 20-minute
Oh,
drive.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't recall what the pricing was, but we worked with them for our golf tournament in the fall and they were very, very nice, gave us a discount.
Yeah, and
so.
I'll also say that Snoqualmie Inn is, like you indicated, there's not really a hotel in North Bend. I mean, it is and the Salish, don't get me wrong, is a hotel, but that's a higher price point.
Yeah.
I can't.
But Snoqualmie Inn does a brisk, very busy wedding summer business. And they also have the shuttle van, which
Mhm.
they will shuttle wedding blocks to all of the different wedding venues in the area. So their summer rates are definitely competitive. So sometimes they aren't able to even offer a big room block because they have,
Right.
they're already booked. So that is part of it, is the summer,
Right.
they are the wedding venue. The winter, that shoulder season is when they have more opportunities for doing, but then biking events are held in, held
Right.
in the summertime. But
Yeah.
so,
Well, I'm
And their
sorry for-
regular rates are very competitive. They're pretty standard. And like I said, they have progressively gotten better and better at dropping their rates for groups and
Okay.
events. So now's probably a good time to remind them, hey, we need you.
Maybe for the 2026 work plan, can we have like regional events on our work plan, and how do we better target or coordinate?
Support them.
Yeah. Like what if,
Support them and have them support us.
Mhm.
we bought a few boots and bulk, right? Like, hey, if this event, give downtown Snoqualmie's Merchants Association 4 booths. Can you knock off 10% per booth or something? I don't know. But we can maybe grab some booth space. Like if Restaurant Store, you want to go sell stuff at the Sturdy Dirty,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't know. How do we tap the
Post
businesses
Viking
in?
snacks,
Split a booth with somebody else that's selling cheeseburgers or something? I don't know, or whatever.
bougie granola bars.
Right? Like you would crush at those events. So how do we like, maybe bring our downtown merchants almost to some of these events that are up in the hills and people are forgetting to come downtown.
Great ideas.
I will add that to the 26 work plan, that, and then, the creative district will move that down too.
Great. Okay. Now I'm a little bit stuck of where to go next.
Should we move to items of commissioner interest?
Yeah, 3.
Yes, okay, so items of commissioner interest. Impacts to local businesses with minimum wage increases in unincorporated King County. This was definitely something that came up at the roundtables. And is this a discussion?
I think we wanted to do a follow-up just to see if businesses had noticed that there was a problem with attracting employees due to, or losing employees to go to higher paying minimum wage jobs outside of the city limits. Is that right?
Oh,
I don't recall.
I know that was a concern that was raised at the last roundtable, that it was hard to cover people working at, $16 to $18 an hour, and the minimum wage jumped to 20 something, and that people were afraid they were going to lose. Oh, okay, Commissioner Webb?
yeah, Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, I think so far we haven't seen a huge impact of people leaving based on that, but I think the issue is that it's going to become like, I'm sure it's going to be a part of King County in no time, and at that point we would just, like I mentioned, we would close down because it's gotten so out of control cost wise that it's I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So the fact that that even got passed is like beyond me, and the fact that we're all in the same labor pool is super important to kind of consider. So I think there's Rob and I had talked, I think there's looking back, like 6-month thing where they're gonna look at all of it, and if there's something that this council can do to affect change in regard to that, it would be important, because again, like the challenge, like I've mentioned, is if we have a 15-year-old that works as a hostess and she's getting paid $20 an hour, $21 an hour, our bartender now has to make 28 or 30 because they're a seasoned bartender. So it moves every labor scale up by 20%. It's not just this minimum wage. It's once that's the minimum, then everything else goes up, and it's already an extremely expensive state to do business in. And this just adds another burden that puts it right on the business owner, and it's not fair in regard to those margins, and people will not pay $50 for a cheeseburger. So it's like, at some point, it just ends up being my burden and I pay it. So it's unbelievable that that was ever the thing. And then the whole, like, if you have 15 employees, or if and then it jumps to like 500, like the rationale of all of it. So whatever we can do as a council to be a part of making some change in regard to that, I think is important, because it affects us dramatically with regard to just being in the same labor pool as all the other ones. And the rationale of how that was ever passed or became a thing, it still is beyond me. I don't know how that even is something that they think any business can sustain that kind of an increase. I mean, when we bought the pub, minimum wage for the state was $12 an hour, right? So if you think about the amount of change in a relatively short period of time, I just don't know how to keep up with those costs.
What is the process? Like, who do you go to? Who do we go to? Who does the council go? How do we fight a minimum wage increase? I don't even know. Do we have any say as a city?
I don't believe so.
I'm gonna try to be apolitical as possible on this issue. It was passed in May by the King County Council. And I know there's frustration on the part of restaurant owners because it doesn't include tips. And oftentimes it can be more than the minimum wage itself an hour. The other issue is Seattle and other jurisdictions, including SeaTac, pass their own minimum wage. Seattle's actually higher than King County. So the question comes back, is this fair? Is this right? Does it impact businesses? And should this council consider its own minimum wage? Because they could. And what would that look like? And I understand that housing is becoming more and more less affordable, but raising the minimum wage doesn't address, the fact of who it impacts and what it's going to impact and the services that we rely on. And so anyway, be it as it may, it's up to the commission. How do you move forward? In any direction that you can give, and you could even do a resolution to the council saying this is our position.
I just have a question to understand what that could look like. So if we, as a city, if not we, but if our council here in Snoqualmie set a minimum wage, would that override the King County minimum wage that was set, or would it have to be higher? It could be higher or lower?
Yes.
Okay, and ours would stand as the minimum wage.
So currently, our minimum wage is the state's minimum wage. So that's has jurisdiction over us. You can always adopt a higher minimum wage. That's what King County did. That's what Seattle did. That's what SeaTac did, and some of the other cities.
Can you change maybe the parameters of who receives that minimum wage? Like Adrian was saying, it's really tough in his business because if you're paying a 15-year-old, then it trickles to everybody because then the bartender's got to make more. So if you kept, I don't know the rules. Can a city adopt different parameters and set levels for minimum wage?
If it's more than the state, but then it comes down to enforcement. And this is an issue with King County. Who enforces the minimum wage? Well, it goes to the state standard labor board, the wage board. So if you're an employer and you're not properly paying your employees, they're eligible for triple damages.
Right.
So, even though there's not King County enforcement, there's state enforcement, but it all depends on the jurisdiction. So the jurisdiction can be more restrictive than the states and raise the bar. They can do other parameters, but again, where's the enforcement going to come from? And it will always default to the state wage and labor board. And I'm not a legal expert.
So, so what do we do with this item of commissioner interest? I mean, if there's nothing really that we can do about the minimum wage, I don't quite understand why it's, yep, Mike?
So this item is your opportunity to float an idea to your fellow commissioners to bring back on a future agenda. So if, say, you wanted to talk about the wet spot on the trail up at the top of the parkway and how that's affecting your business, you would say, hey, next time I want that on the agenda. We will go ahead and do the work to prepare to be prepared to discuss that. So that's what this is for. It's for you to kind of poll your group and say, hey, let's talk about this next time or something else.
Okay, so group. Commissioners, I guess, do we want to put this on our agenda to talk about this more next time?
I definitely feel like I would need a lot more information than what I currently have. Is there someone who could lead us through a more informational session?
About minimum wage?
Just on like what would the options be, or?
Yeah, we can get the city attorney to come in and talk about the legal stuff, and we can maybe reach out to the state to have somebody come in and
Would
give
that
her a
be something others would be interested in?
Yes.
primer.
Or would it be a waste of time? No?
It would never be a waste of time. I'll say that.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
Adrian.
I know it's just some of the things we talk about, and then this is like the most important thing to businesses. Let's probably like focus on that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then is that we
Joelle
don't.
has her, Joelle has her
Oh,
hand up.
Joelle?
Yeah, I'm extremely interested in this as well. I would love to have further information and possibly then, once we have all the information, as you know, one suggestion would be that the EDC would make that resolution letter, based on what we gather and what we would recommend to city council.
So what I can do is add minimum wage to the work plan for 2025. And my question for you guys is just trying to balance the time that we have on each of these meetings. So would we want to have, I'm thinking of this next month, we were going to see if we get the school district here in that topic. Then do you want to try to have the attorney come in May or come in June? And then I'm thinking the schools, with school getting out, I don't know. Just, yes, Mike.
I think we should start with the state, and it may take a couple meetings to get them here. I don't think we can just call up the state person to show up at
Right.
the next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So my recommendation would be to stay on program for the school, let the
Okay.
state come in, talk to the state, and then have a conversation with the city attorney after the state does their
Okay,
presentation.
I didn't know if we were starting with city attorney. Okay, cool. All right.
Okay, that
so
sounds good.
We'll work behind the scenes then with minimum wage, but I'll add it to the work plan.
Okay. And so upcoming schedule would be next, but we've already kind of gone through that. So for our next meeting, I think our main topic of discussion was going to be having the school come in, looking at how to work with the school, the CTE, is that what it
Mhm.
was? And we, as commissioners, we're all going to come with our proposed businesses that we were going to work with and visit.
My only thing about, I know that was my idea, and I don't want to send anyone on a wild goose chase. What are we hoping to get out of this school, and then what will we do with that information, just so I understand? And I know that was just me kind of throwing something out there. So no, like, I don't want to send Nicole on a wild goose chase.
No,
or
I think
someone
that the
or something.
school district, from my experience, if you could, if you agree with me or not, Councilmember Watton, is I think that they're always looking for a way to get out and touch base with business owners and how can they help get youth in job shadowing or volunteering or in the trades. So I think they would be happy to come talk about the different programs that they have available. And maybe it's one of those things, we have them come out now and then they can start to make some contacts. And then when school starts in September, they've got, a log of people that they can reach out to. I don't think they would feel it would be a waste of
Okay.
their time. And just to start that conversation.
Is it appropriate for this commission, though?
I think that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
Do you feel it is?
Okay.
Absolutely.
it's an economic,
I mean, it addresses the workforce needs.
Yeah.
I mean, they have needs, they
Yeah.
need money.
yeah.
You guys need employees, and also if we can get the pool of people to, it kind of goes back to, again, that live, work and play in Snoqualmie. If we can kind of foster or grow our own
Mhm.
little workforce here, or, that keeps them from having to go drive elsewhere.
What I would love to learn from them is what happens to the kids after they graduate. What's the graduation rate? how many go to college, how many stay here, how many go directly into trade school or the workforce. So if they can come in with a little bit of data, I'm sure they have that, but if the right person or that person can come armed with that information, I would love
That'd be
Okay.
great.
that particularly, yeah.
That
just make
would
sure it's on
relate
track.
more, yeah,
Okay, that helps.
Yeah.
Thank you.
great. Okay. Is there anything else we needed to discuss today?
Maybe just a small note, maybe not to do for Nicole, for the transportation piece that I saw up there. Just, I saw it somewhere the other day and I think the window's closing, but there's like a $4 million state, what do you call it? Rebate program for e-bikes. So I don't know, whoever in the city might want to, I don't know how people find out about that, but I think the
think we want
state's
any
giving
more
out
of those.
rebates for electric bikes or something like that.
I don't think we want any more of those.
Yeah.
Not for
Especially-
16.
Been a big
Yeah,
topic of,
especially children. Must have a driver's license.
Yeah, kind of a hot topic right now.
right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. We were we've received some communication from inside the community on this topic. So I think that's where the four of us, that's where our minds are. So
Are
we're
people
gonna
freaking out
redirect.
about the kid. I saw a kid doing a wheelie on an e-bike. That would have been me.
Yeah, I mean, I almost hit
Well-
one of the
Really
kids,
crazy.
so it's.
You what, Nicole?
I said I almost hit one of the kids. I was
I was-
trying
they
to,
almost hit
actually,
you.
you were there. Yes, Dory was there. I was parallel parking as I was visiting our restaurants on the ridge, and I pulled in and went to back up. And as I was backing up, a kid zipped past me to go onto the sidewalk on his e-bike, and I got out of my car to talk to him, and the person parked behind me said that I was this close to hitting him, and so it was a really scary moment.
And they're also using the business park because there's less traffic in the business park and they can get a nice long run to do their tricks. They are there. Oh, great.
Joelle has her hand up, but Joelle, is this an e-bike thing? I definitely want to hear what you have to say, Joelle, but Councilmember Watton has a comment
No,
too.
no.
No,
I just
okay.
want to point out, waiting.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I was pointing out you're out there waiting, Joelle.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask about the business visitation once again. So we are to identify individually the businesses that we want to visit for next month. What about the questions? Are we going to bring back next
I'll bring
month
back-
our idea on consolidating? Because I like that idea a lot. There are way too many questions.
Yep, I will bring the question, I'll put the questions in the next agenda packet, so you guys can review the packet prior to the meeting and maybe make your edits. Come prepared to say, strike this question, strike that question, and then we can spend maybe 5-10 minutes whittling those questions down. Because some of those questions, like I said, we did those in 2023.
Mhm.
Maybe they're redundant now after the roundtable.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
that-
and I was going to add that I did quite a few business visitations in the last couple of years, but we've never really had a way to download afterwards. And now it's sort of, obviously that information is outdated and has changed rapidly over the last year even. So I would like to suggest that when we do these visitations, if we could, sometimes it's really hard to get in touch with business owners, but if we could maybe each identify maybe even a half a dozen, and hopefully even get a few out of that from each commissioner, that would be good. And then establish a timeline to complete it so that the information is going to be more relevant than, waiting 6 months to download it, if that makes any sense. I want it to go somewhere this time so that we can talk about it.
I think that sounds good. So we can, next time when we all come with our proposed businesses to visit, we can not only hone the questions to kind of focus in on a few major issues, but we can come up with our timeline and then plan. I think we need to plan a meeting just to go through what we learned.
Yeah, and maybe the process, like maybe after you guys have your meetings, you can send me an email with the results and then I can start to compile a document. You're looking at me crazy, like,
No,
don't do
no,
that. Oh,
we- What we need is a form. like
That's what I
either a
was thinking
Google
too, a
form
forms,
or-
yeah.
or
Yeah,
Through Microsoft.
Agreed.
And then you just put the
it
comments, and
in.
if we can narrow down the questions, because it took Mark before months to put all the compilation together and it's too hard on
Well, maybe the
staff.
questions is the form.
Right,
The questions, and then
right.
there's space in between, and then you can
Yeah.
jot those down. You can just scan them or take a picture of them and send them to me. And then Mona and I can work together to compile them and if,
Yeah.
so.
that
I'd be
sounds
more than
good.
happy to fill out an online form with how the visit went, and that would be easy to extract data from. Easier, less work on you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna type it up anyways. I might as well type it into something that's not gonna make you do extra work.
yeah.
Get some
That sounds
IT
good.
support for that, but
It's easy.
Robert, I can show you too.
Okay, well, I think we have a plan for
Yeah.
moving forward.
yeah.
And if there's nothing else for today,
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.